Common sense isn't gone. It just needs a comeback. Common Sense Superheroes with David and Greg.
Feels like the first time. Feels like the very first time. Greg's finally got some internet. Took long enough, yeah. Welcome to another episode. Finally, the Common Sense Superheroes is back on the interwebs. Episode number 33. We'll get into a few of those, who that might be. But first, introduce myself. I am your host, David. Across from me is the bearded one, living in the Stone Ages, Mr. Gregory Miller.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like the first time, and our canned intro is pretty spectacular too, because it felt like Common Sense was gone there for a little while. I wasn't sure I was going to make a comeback. No, dude, it's crazy. It's 2026. You can order something from China and have it on your doorstep in about 36 hours. But some jackleg down the road ran into a substation transformer box, and AT&T had no clue what to do about it. It took 4 days for them to determine that whatever part was needed was in North Carolina, and they assured us they would get it on a truck and get it down here within 3 days. And I'm going, hell, I can get up there and back in 10 hours. I don't know what's going on. Like it's a lot of this just, we live in a crazy world where a lot of stuff just doesn't make sense. And the fact that any human being in modern America can go 6 days without home internet doesn't make sense to me.
That'd be tough, I'll be honest, especially with 3 kids in the house, because now the internet runs everything, your cable, your TV. I mean, you don't have access to anything without the internet or interwebs. So it's tough. I can imagine when we have those storms that maybe cut the power off. Obviously, the heat and the air is the big go-to, but not having internet, that's brutal, man. That's rough.
Yeah, so I've been limited to podcast only as my source of news and information of what's been going on, and we all know how dangerous that could be if you know the list of podcasts I listen to.
That is true. It is episode 33 of Common Sense Superheroes. There's a lot of 33s to choose from. A lot. That's a very popular number. You got your Scottie Pippins. You got
my two favorite.
Okay.
I was like every kid of our generation. I was a diehard Bulls fan. Scotty's one of them. And then for me, it's a throwback to my earlier years as a dog fan. I'm going to go with the Monticello monster, Odell Thurman. That was a
Thurman.
bad dude roaming the middle of the field for the Dogs back in the day.
He would hit you. He would throw something out there. He'd throw some I say leather, but even though it's a helmet, he would put the old shoulder down and try to drive through somebody. I'm going to go with, since the Braves are on a hot streak, and we've unfortunately had 2 losses as far as from people historically for the Braves, I'm going to go number 33, Mr. Steve Avery, which is one of the first baseball cards I ever sold for like $5 back in the day. Somebody gave me $5 for a rookie card, and I was like, man, I done messed up. I sold out too quick. This is going to be worth millions. Well, it turns out I ended up okay. I made a good living.
I remember that very same Upper Deck rookie card. And I remember a time back when that card was popular where most of us were thinking Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz, and Avery might be the best of all of them.
Yeah.
Like that dude was like coming up. I mean, that left-hander has some stuff, and he was prospected to be a big time. And he had a good career, far better than a lot of folks have. But he did come up a little short to the hype that was on his career early in the stages.
It's hard to come in and try to make an impact when you got legends, icons of the sport beside you. They wasn't at the time, but they turned out to be. Hard to get in a rotation when you got those 3 that are, I mean, you could actually pitch pretty well, but still look bad compared to them, the way they're throwing around. Steve Avery is my choice, but there is a lot of choices. Like I said, Scottie Pippen is, of course, a good one. I've been reading. By reading, I mean listening to Scottie Pippen's book, Unguarded, and not the biggest Michael Jordan fan. Not a big. You kind of hate to see it because of how much they did together. And I think Jordan's like, I love the guy. Well, yeah, you would. You got all the fame and everything. He got the blame on a lot of it. So not the biggest Jordan fan.
Well, I mean, it's like you said, as a diehard fan of that team and that whole generation, it's you don't like hearing stuff like that, but as a human being, it's hard not to understand because, like, I watch a lot of basketball, or I did back in the day, and you'll never convince me that Scotty wouldn't have been one of the top 2 or 3 players in the league if he was the star on his team or if he'd have been on a team that didn't have MJ. Um, and then, by the time he finally got his chance, when MJ laid it down, he'd had so many years of being the number 2 that I don't think he really knew what to do as the number 1 at that point. But I would make with Scotty's game and Scotty's talent, I mean, that dude could lock anybody on the court down defensively. I mean, he was LeBron James before LeBron James. He was 6'9", running
Big guy,
point,
yeah.
could shoot. I mean, he was a true 5-tool player that was good at everything. And I think he's still one of the NBA's top 50 and recognized as such. I think he would, and I understand his point, he would get a lot more recognition as an all-time great had he not just been so dramatically overshadowed by the greatest of all time.
He got totally railroaded when it comes to money. They screwed him big time. He kept putting it off, thinking they're going to eventually pay him. They never did end up paying him. They got him for like league minimum. He signed the contract. I get it. I understand that. But at a point, you got to be like, I can't do this. This is just unfair what he's getting paid. He was getting paid less than what guys who just come in the league that have done nothing. He was getting railroaded by that. Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf. I can't remember which one it was that both of them ended up screwing him, but he got hosed. And his story is quite motivational if you go back coming from a small town in Arkansas. And I think he had a brother that was paralyzed, or maybe his dad was paralyzed. Just a rough, rough upbringing with multiple brothers and sisters, but made something of himself. Very proud of him, but not the biggest Jordan fan because, Jordan kind of threw him under the bus slightly in the Last Dance documentary, and he won't live down when there was that final shot to be made and they were giving it to
And he
Kukoc
sat on the bench.
because he thought, "Well, listen, I'm the guy now." No, they gave it to Kukoc, and he sat on the bench and was pissed off. And I get Phil Jackson's point in the fact that, hey, that's a great, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Where he kinda
Well,
fakes it to him. He's a
yeah,
great
using Scotty as the decoy, and
decoy,
and
yeah, he's a
Kukoc
great
Kukoc was a
decoy.
clutch shooter. Like
He
he was
was, he
like,
had a great and hard to block when you're out there with
yeah,
that lefty.
a 6'11" left-hander. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a good player to get off the
hard
last
to
second shot if
block.
you need it.
But I think Phil or Scotty was thinking, if Jordan was here, there wouldn't be even a question. Even though everybody in the building knows that Jordan's going to take the final shot, they still run a play to Jordan. And I think Scotty was like, I've earned that right. And so he got pissed and he sat down. He won't live that down, unfortunately. But I understand it slightly.
I do as well. Like I said, you hope that maybe at some point they can kind of come back together and make amends for it. I mean, at the end of the day, that was, you know, that's a team and a franchise that I'd argue would have won 8 or 9 consecutive NBA titles had Michael not walked away to realize he can't hit a curveball. It was just that was, you had, Magic and Kareem and Bird and Parrish and like you had some dynamic, superstar alienation before. But for our generation, Scotty and Michael, like that was the original kind of dynamic duo. That was Kobe and Shaq before Kobe and Shaq. That was before, super teams started being developed and all the stars started to play together. I mean, that was such a cool thing that just by, the organic nature or the way the NBA rigged the draft, you had 2 of the all-time greatest players on the same team back then. And that was, I said, I miss those days. I don't know that anything from a sports fandom outside of UGA football, and that's a different brand of loyalty for me because that's personal going to school there. But as far as an outsider, kind of a sidewalk fan of a team, the Chicago Bulls of the '90s are about as big a fandom as I think I can have.
You talk about rigging things, and that you talked about Jordan trying to hit a curveball. That brought up a couple conspiracy theories that I could think of. One is Patrick Ewing and the envelope
And the
that was
frozen
apparently
card.
frozen, so they could actually pick him in New York. Uh, it worked out. I mean, he didn't get the championships he wanted, but Patrick Ewing made New York Knicks basketball back in the day. And then the other one talking about Jordan hitting the curveball. You heard the conspiracy theory that he was actually suspended for 2 years for gambling, and
Have
that's
heard
why
that.
he went to go do that. It's odd. I mean, listen, between that, his dad dying mysteriously, I guess, if you want to call it, getting murdered, possible a gambling debt.
This day and age is it's hard to ever make sense of what's actually true, and especially when you're going back, 25, 30 years on something like that. You just even in that environment, you would have a very, very hard time convincing me without some serious black and white tangible proof that the NBA would suspend Michael Jordan for any damn thing at
I
all
know.
because that dude was the league.
That's
I
your
look,
money.
I get the theory, and I'm sure there's some dots you can connect to make it make sense, but there's just no way you can convince me that they would have suspended him, and that's what triggered it.
Well, that's why they're saying possibly that's the case that it was hidden under wraps because they didn't wanna be suspending their goat in more ways than one now, as far as, like, making money and all that, that's their dairy cow. So, possibly they suspended them without it letting it be known and gave them a chance to take it 2 years away. I don't know, possibly, but I would have loved to have seen them stay and see how many more they can get. I mean, they would
I'm
have got I
somebody
think
that
they would have won those 2 during that time because who was it? Houston went back to back in between those 2? I don't know. Olajuwon was in
I
his
will say,
peak.
and trying to find the silver lining, and I was always, of that generation when centers were a thing and dominant big men were part of the league still. I was an Olajuwon guy, so I can put the spin on it that at least that hiatus that Michael took where he was swinging and missing a lot was it at least gave the world a chance to realize how damn good Hakeem Olajuwon was.
If you've ever tried to even today, I'll go out there and, swing a bat or hit fungo, and from season to season, after not doing it for a while, just hitting a fungo, I kinda lose my swing a little bit, and I can only imagine swinging a ball, swinging at an actual pitch. To go that long since Little League, and I understand he's Michael Jordan, and they gave him some preferential treatment, but he wasn't god awful. I mean, he was clearly not one of the best ones out there, but he wasn't bad. It wasn't super embarrassing.
No, I mean, shit, you mentioned fungo, dude. I'm still trying to somewhat compete playing like adult league softball and stuff. And, from the time back when you and I played and we were playing, 4 nights a week and all day on the weekends, like now to go into with no practice and only playing, 2 or 3 months out of the year, 2 games a week, and that's it. Dude, the timing is off. That like I am and it's like I know the talent is still there. I know the coordination is still there, but like you said, it's just you don't ever get into any kind of rhythm. You don't ever really feel comfortable. And when you show up twice a week, hey, I may only get 2 or 3 at bats, and then don't see another pitch for a few days.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, that's for sure. So yeah, I
I
can imagine
used to
taking that kind of time off and then trying to compete at that level, hitting what's almost major league level pitching. And I'm sure they would have made me look foolish too.
You don't have to think. Back in the day, you didn't think, you just got up and did it. Instincts took over, it was more natural. Now I'm like, "Oh, shit, don't miss. Okay, alright, hey, what am I doing here?" It's tough. Like I said, I'm just hitting fungos, but I'm trying to make sure I don't embarrass myself in a bunch of 12-year-olds, but it's
Well, if
tough,
you want to
so
stop embarrassing yourself, stop posting on TikTok about Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan, I watched Mean Girls for the first time in my life, which listen, I'm as shocked as you are. I thought I would have seen that a long time ago. All the crazy, silly, feminine type stuff I watch, and I had never seen Mean Girls. Why? I don't know, but I never have. Gotta give it to Lindsay Lohan. Great actress. I thought she did well in it. It was a movie. It was fine. I put it in I don't know what year it was, but I'm gonna say 90s. I put it in that 90s uh filter and knowing that hey, this ain't Shawshank Redemption. You're gonna see a few things that you can't get away with today. But I thought it was damn good.
Well, like you, I do not currently possess my man card. My wife has it. But unlike you,
Mhm.
I did have one at one time. I can offer nothing to this because I have not seen Mean Girls 1 or 2 and likely never will watch either one of them.
Turns
I
out there's a
will
two.
admit to there being a phase where I remember in my younger days thinking Lindsay Lohan was pretty damn attractive, but I don't know anything about her acting quality.
Feel like I recall a moment where it was a Lindsay Lohan versus Hillary Duff. And I believe I almost got into it with Andy Wood about that. I think we were going back and forth. Almost positive I chose Hillary Duff.
You
The
would.
like, who would you rather kind of deal. I think I chose Hillary Duff. And if you've seen Hillary Duff lately, boy, still getting it done.
She's aging well, and she
She
was always
is.
the good girl of the 2, which that makes sense for
Yes.
you. You were of the 3 of us, you were probably the most, or the least likely to do something troublesome or get involved with somebody troublesome. Andy and I had a little more, we were a little more open-minded, I'll say, back in the day.
I got with a not plain Jane woman because she's not, but she's not gonna hurt anybody. That's Brooke. She's a sweetheart. So that maybe I fell for that when it comes to marriage. But Hillary Duff, which I thought was sweet, but some of her lyrics and her music today, wow. She came back with a vengeance, son. Looking good
Yeah,
and
I
everything.
think I think a lot of times those child stars almost have to try to reinvent themselves for a second wave because you can't go back to being 16, 17 and portray a wholesome innocence anymore. I don't know, man. It's a weird thing, and you take somebody like that, and hopefully Hillary stays on the right path. But man, you see so many of these child stars or people that deal with that early level of fandom, and it just ruins them. I mean, there's plenty of Britney Spears and Justin Bieber's, and there's a lot of tragic tales. So it's nice, and hell, even Lindsay Lohan went through her own
Yeah,
battles
she
and
had
her
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 battles for
struggles.
sure.
So it's nice when you see somebody like Hillary Duff who tends to stay out of the headlines unless she's releasing something positive.
She's coming back now with an album, I believe, and I want to say she's in like a American Idol type voice,
Well,
something along
at
those
the
lines.
I will absolutely verify and validate the fact that I no longer possess my man card. It's in my wife's possession because I believe Hillary Duff does play a role in a fairly popular Netflix series called Emily in Paris, which I have seen most episodes of.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought she'd done nothing pretty much. Huh, that's weird. But I might have to watch it because I'm starting to be a fan. And as you said, I don't recall any kind of crazy stories about Hillary Duff or like I said, some of her lyrics nowadays. I'm like, oh, low key, she getting
And she
freaky.
didn't go full Miley Cyrus either.
She didn't go full. I don't think she got a drug issue or alcohol issue like Lindsay Lohan did. But I was blown away by just from an acting standpoint about um Mean Girls. I thought she did good, Lindsay Lohan. It was a girl chick show, and it had some stuff that you couldn't get away with today. A lot of homo talk, that kind of stuff. But I thought it was great.
So there's a question, and I may regret asking this, but
Yes, I am. I may go watch Herbie the
at,
Love
at
Bug that she's in.
at any given moment before getting into a movie, you sort of make a commitment and go, "Hey, am I going to watch this or no?" What were you doing? What was the impetus that made you sit down and watch a 25-year-old chick flick?
It was one of
What what
those
what
where
was going on in your mind? Like, what were you in search of when this is what you stumbled across and said, "I'll do this"?
clearly I was having a low T moment. That's the case. I was laying on the couch. Like I said, I work at night. I didn't say that, but just know that I usually work at nights. I wanna find something on the TV that I can just kinda doze off to if I wanna fall asleep on the couch,
And
and it was one of
C-SPAN wasn't
those
available.
nothing wasn't on that I really cared for, and I think they were talking about it in maybe a baseball practice a while back. One of the wives was talking about it, how she tried to watch it with her daughter, but it's inappropriate now and you couldn't watch it because of all the stuff, and I don't know, I just clicked it on and said, "Screw it," and I got into it. I was like, "Well, damn, this is pretty good."
So, are you going to watch number two?
You just told me that there's a number 2, which I didn't know that. Apparently, I got that wrong on my Front Porch with David podcast. And, something else I got wrong, I posted about Ted Turner and Bobby Cox passing away and how the Braves have no choice but to win the World Series this year because it's just fate. It's meant to be. And I mentioned the fact that when Hank Aaron died, we should have won the World Series then because that would have been fate as well. Well, it turns out we did. He passed away in 2021 in January, and we went on to win the World Series that year. But I don't know why it just seems like the World Series was so long ago, and Hank Aaron just passed away last year. It seems like I did not
Don't know
realize
the
it was
answer.
that far back.
I don't know the answer to this, but what exactly is the Braves' record since you put that kiss of death on them, saying they had to win it all?
Well, it was 2 nights ago, I think, or 2 days ago, and they won last night. They beat the Cubbies. They did not play what's the night? Wednesday. They did not play Monday night because they were
Gotcha.
coming off that road from the Dodgers, which played well against the Dodgers. My God. Dodgers got beat last night by the Giants. Mookie Betts needs to hurry up and come back for the Dodgers, but I'm
So,
loving to see him go.
are we
But
bringing in the big fish, the trout?
that's the rumor. That is the
Dude,
rumor that Trout could possibly make I think it would be a resurgence for him. I think it really would. I would love to see him.
he
They
has
were
he has quietly, and I wish to God he could have stayed healthy because that dude is an absolute monster athletically. he has been so just out in the black hole out there with the Angels, dude. I've been a big fan of his. Obviously, he doesn't get near the coverage he did 10 years ago because he's just been battling injuries. It seems like forever now. But I'm with you, dude. I think bringing him to Atlanta would be absolutely a win across the board. I think it'd be good for him. It'd obviously be great for the Braves. It's just a matter of what do you have to give up to make it work.
Yeah, he needs to see some playoffs. He needs to see a little action out there in October and see what he can do. Hopefully, the Braves can get him that. Tell you, speaking of getting injured, golly, can we? Do they need a catcher that don't know that never wants to play or never can play? Because we'll give you Sean Murphy right now. Sean Murphy, God bless you, son. You can't get healthy to save your life. You just came back less than a week ago. Now you got another 8 weeks with a damn finger.
It's
What in the
it's
hell?
it's it's time. Pick up the phone, call old Eddie Perez. He can't hit, but he never could hit. But he can still roll out there and catch one out of every 6 or 7 games. Give Drake a break. We'll be fine.
Well, you ain't got to call far because he's actually a coach. He's actually the bullpen coach.
Suit
So
him
it'd
up.
be easy to get Eddie. See if we can talk Darno out of coming out of retirement or back. We get Darno back because, man,
I do miss Travis. Travis was one of those clutch guys, man. Like
yes.
he was never going to put up the numbers of some of the catchers of the elite level catchers, but he was. And one of my favorite Braves of all time was Brian McCann because I don't care what kind of average or numbers Brian McCann was having. If it was the eighth or ninth inning in a clutch situation, you wanted B-Mac at the plate.
Yeah, he's
And
going to find a
Travis
way.
reminded me a lot of that level of catcher, that great defensive catcher. The pitchers all loved him, and he
Mhm.
may only hit 260. But if it's the eighth or ninth inning and there's runners on base, you can almost always count on Trav to come through.
He'll have about 16 bombs, and those 16 bombs, like you said, are going to be 7th, 8th, or ninth inning. It seems like they're always in clutch moments.
He's the anti-Ronald Acuna.
Sean Murphy cannot get healthy. My God. When he was on fire a couple years ago, I was like, man, this is going to be something. When we had him and Darno. And then when we got Baldwin, I was like, man, you give Baldwin a break, you give Murphy a break, they'll go back and forth. Nah, Murphy, I guess I'll get a chance to see him in Gwinnett again in about 6 weeks. Good
Shoot,
grief.
last I saw was they were looking at least 8.
I know, but hopefully in 6 weeks, he'll at least be
Yeah, to
back
the get
there,
minors.
hopefully. Jeez, if
I don't
it's
know, man.
8 weeks and then another 2, 3 weeks of damn minors, hell, just go ahead and trade them off. Good grief.
And that would be the only hesitation with trying to make a move to bring somebody like Trout in, is because, much like Murphy, it just seems like the last handful of years, man, he can't string more than 15, 20 games together without going down with something. But I don't know. Like I hadn't seen enough about what pieces are being talked about to make a move on Trout. But that would be just selfishly, it would be fun to have him in Atlanta. That would get me excited enough to go up and see a few more games because I've always respected his game. You talk about somebody just goes about it the right way. Obviously it may not matter to most, but I know he's a man of faith. I know that his convictions are very pure and very real. And it's just it's so rare in this day and age to see somebody who doesn't want to be famous, doesn't want to make a lot of noise, isn't trying to get you to look at him. He's just trying to go out there and earn his paycheck and make the team as good as they can. And I'd love to have a cat like that in Atlanta.
He just goes about his business. I tell you what, he may not be play as much because he's injured, but he can at least be on the damn field watching the game. Unlike Jerkson Profar, who's our left fielder that we played all that damn money for, he can't even get on the damn field because he's suspended. I wish maybe if Mike Trout used a couple steroids, maybe he'll get healthier quicker. Hell, Jerkson don't ever get hurt because he's all juiced up to the gills.
Well, and while we're talking about the Braves, and this is totally random, but it just dawned on me. I, Somebody mentioned Matt Olson, please. Son of a bit, Matt Olson just quietly goes
Quietly,
about
yes.
like his business day in, day out, year after year, and Matt Olson never gets the credit he deserves.
On pace to possibly hit 55 right now with the pace he's currently going, which would top his 54, which is the Braves' all-time record in home runs for the season that he hit. What, 23, I think it was, 2023? Like you said, if
Never
ever there was
misses
a
a day.
trade, it wasn't a trade, I get it. It was a signed deal, but if you wanna say swap guys where we swapped Freddie Freeman for Matt Olson, everybody won in that scenario. The Dodgers are happy with Freddie Freeman. We're upset at first, but we've become very happy with Matt Olson. And no knock on Freddie, but dare I say, we got the better end of this because man, he just goes about his business, quietly hits bombs, and also one of the best fielding first basemen out there. Our corners
He
are
is
strong.
he absolutely doesn't get the credit he deserves, and I'm like you, I don't wanna take anything away from Freddie. Freddie, in my opinion, was Mr. Brave, like, just that smile, his personality, he was the epitome of that clubhouse guy, that team representative that everybody looked at, everybody looked up to and respected, but no, I'm with you. I looked at it, simply as a black and white thing when it went down, and you can probably go back to my Twitter feed back today. I was trying to make the argument even then to go, "Hey, look, losing Freddie sucks emotionally because we all love Freddie. But I'm telling you, on paper, it was a win from day one.
Yeah.
You're getting a younger player who has, a history of never missing games, and the numbers were pretty damn competitive.
Freddie was a big clubhouse guy, so he was almost like, "Man, you don't wanna lose that," but Olsen's been right there with it, and I love when he hits a bomb, a straight jack on top of the clubhouse and almost looks disgusted. He don't even think he just hits it and just runs. Don't even like, "Whatever, no big deal." I love it, and being on the field, talking about being injured and playing, you want guys that can actually go out there and play. The longest streak currently going, I don't know the number, but it's an insane amount of number of games that he's been playing. He's out there every single game. He don't take days off. You gotta love and appreciate that. He's never gonna get to Cal Ripken, but who is? That number, that might be the biggest thing since was it? The stolen base record might be impossible to break, but the consecutive game streak, that's not gonna happen either. A, they get paid too much, and they gonna wanna take a day, and they play too much, to be honest with you. But Olsen, fun to watch. This team, this Braves team, I'm telling you, if you're not watching it, you need to watch it. They are a fun team to watch. And dare I say, the damn bullpen ain't blowing up like it has been. The bullpen actually looking decent. That's why
Now
I hope if we do get Trout, we don't trade away any of our pitchers.
we need to get up there sometime in the fairly near future and do a live remote from a game day.
It'll be fun. Listen, we still got guys need to come back. Swellenbach needs to come back. Lopez is back in the pen, I believe. But man, listen, I'm excited. I'm trying to curtail my excitement, but it's hard not to. I did go over on Front Porch with David, if you can go listen to episode 5 and 6 or 6 and 7, one or the other. And I did discuss about Ted Turner passing away and then Bobby Cox passing away. Two legends, iconic people in the Atlanta Braves sports. You can't put a big enough emphasis on how important they are to the game when it comes to Braves baseball. But Greg, you didn't have a chance because you ain't got no damn internet. Anything you want to say about Teddy and Bobby?
I think you could make the argument, executives and coaches it being a completely different segment than players. Unequivocally, those are the two biggest names in the history of the franchise outside of players. You can throw in some of and again, we've been blessed with some elite level players back in our generation. You guys like Murphy, and then Chipper and Andrew and Maddox, Smoltz. I mean, we've had some talent roll through Atlanta, but from an executive level, Ted Turner, I don't know that folks these days realize who he was back in the '80s. Like that dude was, yeah, I mean, he was a Donald Trump type guy back then. Like he was at every game, and they showed him at every game. I mean, he was a larger than life dude. And then Bobby Cox, you touched on it. I listened to your show, and you're right, man. It's just there's so much about Bobby that just resonates with the Atlanta Braves because he was there for so long. And I'm with you, man. I wasn't a fan back at that time because of some personal stuff and just me being a contrarian. But you just gotta know it killed him to not have one more big win, like that one more World Series win, because to be that good that long, and you hate to draw the comparison, but man, it was the same generation. The Braves and the Buffalo Bills were linked hand in hand because it just that couldn't ever get over the hump and win the
There
big
every
one.
year. Yep.
But I'm telling you, and I was not a fan of either of those teams, but had I been, I think you just got to take the good and go, hey, man, we may not win the one, but we're winning a lot more than we're losing. And as a sports fan, that really should be all we ask for.
Looking back, you're like, man, only one? That sucks. But when you were in it, you still had the hopes that maybe we're gonna get one this year because you were there every year. It seemed like, I mean, you
Well,
had a chance. So you didn't get a chance to like poor pitiful me, only one World Series then because you were in the middle of it. You were thinking this could be it, but man, it really did hurt. There's a lot of fishy stuff. You go listen to Terry Pendleton talk about when the game's in Minnesota, how the air Air conditioning would cut on, blowing against the ball when we were up and turning off when they got the bat, or switching where it would blow out. Kirby Puckett hitting that bomb. There's a routine pop fly that went over that big ass plexiglass, and Ron Gant hit a seed out to left field, who's got some of the biggest arms in baseball at the time, and it came up just short enough for Kirby to be able to jump up and catch it. Any other ballpark that would have been out, no questions asked, but all of a sudden he hits a bomb and then the wind picks up, and then Kent Herbeck pulling Ron Gant off first base.
Do we need to have a
Son of a
Weird
bitch.
Friends episode about the 91 World
Yes,
Series,
we
David?
do. Yes, we do. Because it's bullshit. Go listen to Terry Pendleton did an interview with 680 The Fan, and he'll tell you there's a lot of funny shit going on, a lot of funny stuff that happened. We should have had that one. That was fate. Fate was on our side in that one.
That's the same Terry Pendleton that never hit more than about 5 or 6 home runs a year for the Cardinals, and then somehow got to Atlanta and became a MVP.
93, I believe it was. Yes, he was.
That Terry Pendleton.
He did good. Listen,
Talk about suspicious circumstances.
He
now.
may have got a hold of some good stuff there for a brief moment. Him and Brady Anderson got the same kind of dosage. Remember Brady Anderson played for the Orioles? That was looked like my cousin Chad, who was super skinny. Then all of a sudden he's like ripping 51 home runs.
1 year. He only had 1 year of it.
Yep. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna get my payday and I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna get that 1 year. Boom. I wonder what the record for home runs in Orioles is. He's got to be him or Palmeiro.
Yeah, Rafi hit 50 a couple of times, I think.
Let's see. Most home runs.
Speaking of Rafael Palmeiro, that's another one of those names that doesn't get the credit. And I know he got linked in with all the steroid shit, but that dude never failed a test. And that dude, I mean, that was a pretty sweet swinging left-hander that hit a bunch of home runs over a long period of time.
He did, but he clearly was doing steroids, because he was like, I'll tell you, I have never done a steroid in my life. And then the Balco Labs came out and it was like, oh, Rafael Palmeiro, name number 1. You're never going to get this. Who do you think has the most home runs? I'll tell you, it's 53. Brady Anderson's in second place with 50, but 53 home runs for the Orioles.
I'm going to take a random stab just because I know he had a short stint with them and he was a pretty epic power hitter there for a while.
Don't say Eddie
Albert
Murray.
Bell.
Albert Bell? No. I didn't realize he was in there.
He had a couple of years where I don't know if he was any good still. I just remember him being with the Orioles.
Eddie Murray, he ain't up there, but I would have thought Eddie Murray.
Cal got up in the 40s, his MVP year, I think. Cal had 1 or 2 big years, but he never got over 50.
You're not going to get it. I'll tell you, it's 2013, so I'm fairly certain you were not paying attention to baseball in 2013.
Definitely not the Orioles.
Definitely not Orioles baseball. Chris Davis got 53.
Big left hand. I know who he is. Yeah, big left-handed first baseman. Yeah.
Chris Davis had that. Pete Alonso,
he probably hit about 240 with 200 strikeouts too.
Pete Alonso might get 55 at some point in his next couple years in his career, because he is now with the Orioles.
I think there's a story to Chris Davis where, and again, I do remember that now, him being a big power hitter for the Orioles, and then I think he went through one of the most epic slumps like in baseball history. I don't remember what the details are, but now that you mentioned that time frame, I kind of vaguely remember that being like a headline story for a while. Like he went on I don't know if it was like season long, but he went on an epic bad run for a guy who had hit 50 home runs, and was still playing. They were still trotting him out there all the time, and it was ugly.
What was the guy that had the issues with drugs that was at Texas? And he had one
Josh Hamilton.
Josh Hamilton. He had like a couple of years where he came back and showed out and did phenomenal in one of the home run derbies, and I think that kickstarted it. Fell off shortly after that, but had a little bit of a resurgence there for a minute.
That was, from an emotional standpoint, that was one of the most epic home run derbies of my, like, I remember watching it. And he was such a feel-good story because he was a stud young prospect with all the talent in the world, and he had issues like from early on, and they thought he had come back, and he was a little, when he came up as a rookie and started having some success, like he was already 25, 26. He wasn't your 21, 22-year-old phenom anymore. But the hope was that he had beat it. And I remember that story. And I remember that he put on a show in that first round, and it was magical. And it gave you a little bit of hope. And like all of us, he fell off the wagon and went back down the dark path.
It was fun for that brief period. It was a good story, but that happens. I say we just continue talking sports. Screw it. Make this whole episode of sports while we're getting back in the swing of things. Maybe not talk about the hantavirus. leave out some of the Trump stuff. We'll just talk sports. You want to do that, or is there something else you
I'm
want to
down,
talk
brother.
about?
Sports is always good to me.
Austin Riley hit a bomb last night, slowly but surely working his way back up. He's getting there. My man is making a move. Michael Harris continues to stroke, but Austin Riley,
I mean, you've got, and again, we're blessed to have guys like that on the team. But guys like Austin, guys like Acuna, Olson, like that they're just too darn good and too darn talented to have it go on long term. Like Austin Riley is an all-star caliber third baseman. He is going to do what he's supposed to do over the course of a season. And he's always, to my recollection, been kind of one of those streaky guys. I remember the World Series year, and he went on like a 3.5 week stretch where it felt like he was winning every game with clutch hits and bombs. Hopefully that he will be that guy that maybe when Olson starts to slide a little bit in the dog days or something, Austin will get hot when we need him. Acuna still got some room to pick up the pace. That's what we've talked about. Like it's so exciting to watch this team because they're playing well. They seem to like each other. It's a fun team to watch, but you can still make the argument and look at it and go, we can still get better from here. And that's fun.
yeah, they like you said, they're having fun. Last year, I believe it was, they had those big hats that they wore to start with, and that was fun. We were all having a good time. Then all of a sudden, they made them stop wearing that hat because it wasn't sponsored by New Era or something, and that screwed us, and that killed our momentum we had going. So this year, I
No,
think they're having
David,
a good
I
time
bought
with it.
season tickets last year. That killed our momentum.
That killed our momentum. Greg is the blame. Greg is the one to blame for that. You didn't buy them this year, correct?
No,
Well, look at there. We are World Series bound. Here we come, baby. Here
we
we
lost enough
come.
trying to resell our chop house seats last year. I kept thinking we'd been on the waiting list for like 3 or 4 years, and finally got the email go, hey, you finally up there, you get season tickets. And so we went in with Haley's parents and bought season tickets and thinking, hey, we'll all go up to 10 or 12 games, have a good time, and then we'll just sell the rest. No big deal, probably break even. Nope, no such thing as breaking even last year. I'm not
Picked a
going to tell you
bad
what we
year.
lost, but I went to one game and lost thousands of dollars on that investment.
It didn't give you much reason to go watch last year, that's for sure.
But we
There
did
is
get
this
all
year.
stars. So like I was able to, I was at the home run derby, and that was a bucket
Okay.
list thing. I had always said if it ever came to Atlanta and I could do it, I wanted to be there for the home run derby. Not near as good in person as you think it's going to be. And frankly, I think part of it's just the luster has worn off of it because it's been happening for so long now. It wasn't, I mean, it was cool. The baddest part of the home run derby to me was during one of the intermissions. They broke out some high school kids. And now granted, they were using metal bats, but these high school dudes were popping absolute bombs
I
out there.
bet.
I mean, they were throwing them over the chop house. Like, I go, and these 17, 18-year-old kids, metal
It's
bats or
crazy.
not, it was still impressive.
It is illegal. It should be illegal, which it is when they get to that level, but if they wanna bring me back, there's a couple things they can do for the home run derby, and speaking of home run derby, we'll get back to talking about the home run derby with Cal Raleigh. That made me think of it. He actually came off a slump last night, a phenomenally bad slump that he had going, like 0 for 30 something. He got a couple of hits last night. That's what made me think of it when you talk about home run derby. But the home run derby, if you wanna bring me back, there's a few things you can do. One, get back on steroids. That helps. That will really help. That will make it a lot more fun. Two, why not get metal bats? You gotta put plexiglass in front of all the stadiums where they're outfield because you're gonna be catching it. But metal bats, just you get one swing with a metal bat. That would be cool. Three, I used to love it when they would pitch it and you could watch it fly and see where it lands every single time. Like when Mark McGuire hit a bomb, you would just watch it and the camera would stay on it the whole time. You watch it land. They all laugh and joke like, oh my God, back, gone. Now with the time shit, by the time you look to see where it goes, they're already pitching another one and hitting another one. They can't enjoy how far it goes. It's about how far it goes. We don't care. Be honest, we don't care how many they hit. We want to see how far it goes.
Not just that, that time clock thing has made it more of an endurance of stamina and like physical endurance. Because
Yes.
I'm telling you, like, just as somebody who's, I think we are, we're supposed to have softball practice tonight, and I can just tell you from the last time I had what was called a softball practice, when you get in the box, especially at 47 years old, you start taking cut after cut after cut, you get winded.
Yeah.
And I'm like you, dude. If I'm watching Pete Alonso hit 500-foot bombs, I don't want him to have to do it while he's struggling to catch his breath. Like, that's not the
Exactly.
point of home run derby. It's not how many can you hit in 3 minutes. Go back to the old rules. You get 10 outs. If it's not a home run, it's an out. If you don't swing, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't, like, again, what if your pitcher gets cold? You shouldn't have the clock running while the pitcher can't throw it over the plate.
Yes.
Every
It
look,
happens a
I
lot.
you and I have talked a little bit about some of the adjustments MLB has made to speed up the game, and frankly, as a purist, I'm surprised how much I've enjoyed most of them and agree with a lot of them. The runner on second base in extra innings, I thought I would hate it. It's brilliant,
Love it.
but we don't need 17 innings of 3-1 baseball. The ABS thing, I'm a fan. Like, I love it.
So good.
It's awesome.
So good.
I'm okay with the pitch clock. I
I
like a
love the
lot of
pitch
it.
clock now.
But the
Speeds
home run
things up.
derby is a once a year special event. I don't care if it takes 5 hours. If I'm watching, what is enthralling TV and the old school home run derby was, I'll sit there for 5 hours. I don't care.
Yes, I loved it. And you were right when you talked about the ABS and Greg Maddux. He wouldn't have been the same pitcher. You look back at some of the highlights of Maddox, and he got a lot of calls. If it was ABS, every single one of them be like slapping their head.
He had that backdoor slider that he could throw to right-handers that I swear to you, it curved 8 inches around the plate and then ended up somewhere in the catcher's mitt where it looked like it might have crossed the plate. And he got that call repeatedly. And I'm telling you, as a hitter, that's a pitch you cannot do anything
You
with.
just have to
And if
watch
the umpire's
it.
calling you strikes, you might as well just turn around and go back to the dugout.
Nothing you can do about it.
You can go up there
Wow.
without a bat and have the same impact against it. Like, if they're going to call that shit, you don't even need a stick to swing. Like, just stand there and take it.
And talking about the pitcher getting off in the home run derby, I always see like if so and so's dad is out there pitching to him, doing it, because he's been doing it since he was little. And I was like, man, that would be awesome if my boys was, they have to really start loving baseball if that's going to happen. But if they were to make it the pros and get the home run derby and they'd have me out there throwing to them and hitting or whatever. But then I threw yesterday in the cage a little bit. I'm like,
They're going to have to
that's
make
a
some
lot of
allowances
pressure,
for
dude.
wheelchair access on the mound
That
because you ain't
is a
going to be
lot of
walking by that
pressure,
time.
and I'm gonna be old as shit by then. I would be at least 57, pushing 60,
You,
and I can barely get it across the plate now
well,
on a
you're 40,
consistent
you're
level.
47 with no hamstrings and one Achilles. How are you going to be 10 years from now? How you going to get to the mound and even throw?
It's gonna be rough. Hopefully by then, Elon will have a neural link and just have it. I can program in strikes, and it just lets me throw it like that. That's the only chance I got. But that's a lot of pressure, like you said. Especially add time to the factor. Jeez Louise, be
Yeah,
rough.
that's one of the changes I'm not a fan of, and like I said, it really, I think being there in person last year really made you realize how much of that luster has come off of it because it's like you said, you don't have time to appreciate and embrace what made it special because what made it special was watching the 500-foot bomb travel 500 feet,
I
not
know.
immediately throwing back to the pitcher because they got to try to hit another one real quick.
So I think we could help home run derby. If you want to bring the home run derby back, do away with the time clock. Okay, let's go back to if you want to do 15 outs, 20 outs, whatever it may be. I don't know how consistent they can be, but you just do outs. Let us see how far it goes. You get a special point extra for every home run over 450, something like
And
that. Let's
and
go with
and
that.
here's an idea for the TV audience, since we're gonna make it drag out a little bit longer. Instead of a bunch of random kids in the outfield, bikini girls catching fly balls in the outfield.
Even better, even better. Now I do like occasionally when that little kid gets popped in the face because he's not paying attention. That's also fun. Speaking of the time stuff where they're going back and forth, it can be dangerous if they're out there hitting laser beams and the kid's looking up at a home run and he gets caught back of the head. Dangerous. Change it. And one swing with a metal bat. You get to choose. You can get it sponsored, whatever. One swing with a metal bat. I mean, who wouldn't? You give me O'Neal Cruz with a metal bat? Goodness.
I saw a TikTok video a couple of years ago, I think it was, back when he was still with the Rangers, and they had like a little batting practice section, but it was like in a high school field, so you couldn't really get a sense of depth and distance and stuff. But I saw a Raldis Garcia hit with a metal bat, and I'm telling you, dude, I have often said that and I've tucked in my you know what and become a you know what, and I'm playing only outfield now. Ain't no more shortstop. It's softball for me. I wouldn't play outfield with those cats hitting a metal bat. I'd be scared to death even 250 feet away because that stuff. I'm telling you, watching him and again, they don't miss. Like everything he hit was dead center of the barrel. I mean, just on an absolute line. And you could just tell by the way it was coming off the bat, going, that some bitch may travel 600 feet before it finds ground
Hell
again.
yeah. Uh, it's wild. Crazy, crazy. But speaking of baseball, the boys have made All Stars. I am helping coach the 12U Buford All Stars. Feel free to make a donation. Go check out my social media. You can donate either a company. You can get a special shout out for me. You get a logo on a banner for anything over 250. But any amount is appreciated and help. And with that said, one Linda Miller, who I'm a huge fan of, donated some money, and I definitely appreciate that. Do you know that sweet saint of a lady, Gregory? Does that name sound familiar?
I'll
Linda
check through the
Stampley?
Rolodex. I feel like somewhere about 48 years ago, she and I met, and yeah, she's been pretty influential in my life. I can't lie.
She's very
She is.
sweet.
I'll tell you this, and we're all a fan of our moms, and I was moved by what you posted on Facebook. I know. Yeah, I know how hard that must be. I can't quite emotionally process it yet because I hadn't had to. But my mom and I have a very unique relationship, and we're all fans. We all love our mom. But I'll tell you that the best compliment I can say is if 40 almost 48 years on this planet, and my mom was very successful professionally. She's not somebody who just kept her mouth shut and stayed on the quiet path. I've never met a soul that doesn't have an extremely high opinion of my mom. She is respected and
Sweet
loved
lady.
by almost anybody that knows her. You came around the house a lot for a few years. I mean, she makes everybody feel like family. She
Mhm.
feeds you, gives you whatever you want to drink. She will absolutely make you feel like one of her own if you're in her presence.
She is very sweet. Georgia Saturdays used to have so many dudes over at her house drinking and hooting and hollering, and was always just as sweet as possible about it and put up with a lot. She had to put up with not only Greg, she had to put up with myself, Andy Wood, and the ladies we were dating at the time. It
And she
was
just hung out in the kitchen cooking for us all day
she
long.
did. We had those barbecue sausages that she did. That was delicious. Great time, but she was very sweet. She said some very sweet words about it, and did you, Miss Linda, you ain't never gotta donate nothing. You being sweet enough for me, for a redneck looking dude back in the day being sweet to me is all you needed to do, but it is greatly appreciated. I thank you for
Well,
that.
and I'll tell you, David, for the short amount of time you really spent, kind of in that circle and hanging out with us. It was only a couple of years there. I feel like you made a good impression on my mom. She has always been a fan of yours. Even before we started doing this, she would from time to time ask me if you and I were still talking, and I, regrettably I go, hey, we get the Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, Happy Father's Day text. Like we're still thinking about each other. I felt like you and I always still kind of had that connection even when we weren't really talking or engaging regularly, but she always asked about you. She was always a big fan of yours. She loved Brooke to death. I would be very surprised if she hasn't, even before we started doing this, if she wasn't routinely stalking your Facebook, keeping up with you and Brooke and the kids. Cause like I said, it was a short period of time, but you were like a son to her there for a few years. And
Indeed.
she's just one of those people that, man, once you've become a part of her circle, you're never out of it.
Well, she definitely made an impact on me, like I said. She sweet lady. I don't know how Greg came out of such nice people, but somebody did. I don't know.
If you look at my mom and my daughters, one has to scratch their head to figure out
And
how I fit
wonder.
in the middle of that
And
equation.
wonder. Odd, but they're very much appreciated. But if you would like to donate, feel free to do that. I'll hit my link up. I'd appreciate it. It helps not just my boys, but all the boys. I'm a lover of rec ball. As I said, travel ball has its place, but rec ball is my love, my passion, because that's what I grew up doing. So give these boys a chance to go out and feel like they're playing travel ball and still have a rec ball schedule. A lot of these kids play multiple sports, and if you do multiple sports, it's kind of hard to do travel ball year round. So a lot of these guys just, play baseball when they can and then show out there. So
I,
appreciate
I,
all the
I
love
know
and
we
support for that.
I know we got to start wrapping up here shortly, but one thing, and I'm surprised you and I hadn't really had much on this topic. What's your opinion on the idea of kids playing multiple sports versus trying to specialize? Like I've always kind of thought, for me, up till 14, 15, 16, I think you just play whatever you can play that's in season, just be an athlete, have fun. And then if you start to show a proclivity to be really good at something, maybe 15, 16, you start going, hey, let's focus a little bit more on this because that might be where a future is. But man, some of these cats that I mean, I know kids in our neighborhood that are 10, 11 years old, and it's just travel baseball damn near all year round. They don't do nothing else. I mean, they don't have any basketball, football, golf, tennis. They're not doing anything else. They're just baseball players. And I don't know that that's the right approach. And I follow enough coaches and whether it was, you know, Thomas Davis, one of the best players to ever play UJ football, recruited by just watching him play a basketball game. Never saw the dude have a pad on, but got offered by watching him on a basketball court. There's something to just being an athlete and letting things develop naturally before you start to specialize. But I have been wanting to ask you, what's your opinion on that?
I think the more sports you play, the better. You could probably leave soccer out just because I don't like soccer, even though it's incredibly athletic to go play and run around that much. I just don't like soccer. But if you listen to anybody talk who came up and was in one of the greats of the sports of the sport that they were playing, they all said they played everything. Even John Smoke says he played everything. Most of the guys you see that are baseball players, pitchers, even though you're like, man, that's a non-athletic guy, probably was the best athlete in his school without question, and probably was a great basketball player and a great football player as well. That's just how it goes. Take Tiger Woods out of the mix because that's a whole different ball game. That was his dad being obsessed, and that ended up working out, but till it didn't. It came with his own kind of quirks. He had an odd childhood coming up, but the majority of all the athletes, like we talked about earlier, Michael Jordan, his first love was baseball. So everybody plays multiple sports. So I think the more sports you can play, the better. And I'd like to see the statistics on guys that actually make it into the MLB or into the NFL. How many only played that sport and didn't play, other sports? Football is a little different because I don't. They have travel. They have 7-on-7 now, but for the most part, it's just a fall sport. It kind of goes year round, but most of them will play multiple sports. Baseball is one of those that you can play year round, it seems. So that's the one that I think is affecting the most because you got kids. If you're a great baseball player, you should be a great athlete in general. It helps in every aspect of it. So
Well,
I think, like you said, the time frame you said, 14, 15, specializing, I understand that. But until that, it should be anything you can play.
yeah, I've shared a little bit, and I won't get into the details, but I've got a 15-year-old nephew that is a special gifted athlete. I'm 15 years old. He's 6'5", 230, and like built like he's not cut. Like he's not even fully developed yet, but you can tell he's there. I mean, he's already all the SEC schools are recruiting him for football. Like he has that kind of potential and legitimately has that sort of future ahead of him. Kid still plays baseball and basketball too. And I'm so proud. And again, he's just turned 15. And at some point in the next couple of years, if it's determined that football is the future, that I'm okay with, hey, maybe you start. But I'm so proud. I got a chance to hang out with him a little bit over the weekend. And I even told him, I said two things, man. Keep having fun and play it as much as you can, and then keep God first, and everything else will work out. And to see a kid that at 15 years old, and I've watched him grow up since he was 3, to see the level-headedness and the maturity from a kid that has no business being that mature and that advanced. He looks like a grown man and just about acts like one at this point. I'm so proud of him, and he embodies what's right with this process. He's not coming at it some prima donna, and he's going to have all the big time offers in the world, and it's like he's unfazed by it. Like he realizes how special it is, but he's not making it into his identity. And man, that's the coolest thing. He's a 15-year-old kid who just loves playing sports. He just happens to be physically gifted and really, really good at one of them.
Remember how big Arch Manning was coming out of college? How he was like the number one guy, like everybody wanted. And there was that time where they were like, "Oh, Kirby Smart's at his game. Nick's Lane Kiffin's at the game. Ryan Day's at the game." It was at his basketball game. It was not at his football game. They were going to watch him play basketball. The guy that was already set up to be the biggest name in college football, without question, as far as uh, signings or whatnot. He didn't have to go play basketball, but yet still went and played basketball and risked it. And everybody's like, "That's crazy. Why would he do that?" That's what athletes do. That's what they do.
Exactly.
That's what you want. You don't want a guy who's like, "Oh, I better not do this because I'm." No, they got to have a little recklessness, especially if you're playing football. You're in a damn car wreck every time. He's got to be a little crazy. He's got to be a little athletic, and I thought that spoke volumes of him. I not the biggest Arch Manning fan as currently, but the fact that he did that, I was like, "Man, okay, that's impressive."
Yeah, and I think the consistency and the different types of competition at different sport. I think, like I said, I think it's
Yes.
healthy. I think you develop and learn more physically. Obviously, I mean the greater amount of physical skill sets you can accumulate by playing different sports, the better. But just mentally learning how to compete, learning how for me, I'll draw the analogy. Baseball and basketball were probably my two primary sports until I really started playing a lot of golf in my teenage years. I was way better at baseball than I was basketball. Playing basketball helped me compete at baseball because I had to work at basketball. Baseball was pretty easy, and
Lateral
having
movements,
to
bro.
at 16 years old, being the third kid off the bench for my basketball team in high school, I'm going, I'm not like I'm a baseball player. I'm a starter. Like I'm an all-star. I'm not used to this. But it was an adjustment. And I had to get after it in practice just to show that I wanted to play. And that mentality helped me because it didn't come as naturally. I wish some of that work ethic had translated because now I'm just way lazy and I don't work at anything. But I'm with you, man. I keep playing everything you can until it becomes time where you say, "Hey, look, this path has somewhere that it might lead you," and then focus on that path.
That's it, episode 33 of Common Sense Superheroes. Maybe we'll get back next time. We were getting into swing of things, but maybe next time we'll go politics. We'll talk a little hantavirus, talk a little Trump in his ballroom, talk a little Trump and the war going on. We'll get deep in it, but we just had to wet our beak, so to speak, coming back with this one.
I want
Greg,
to suggest we come up with a new clip for every episode from this point on, and we're just going to have to call it "Everything's Racist." We'll wait till the next episode where we
it's
talk because
racist.
everything's racist now.
We'll talk about that. Kevin Hart roast. There's only one joke that's getting they made a Charlie Kirk joke and they made a George Floyd joke. And I found myself having to laugh at both because you can't laugh at one or the other. Unless, of course, you just want to be one of those that just get upset at the George Floyd joke and just okay with the other. Gotta it's comedy, people. But that's for next episode. Episode 33 in the books, Greg. What you want you as always, you leave us with a word.
Get in your Bible, say your prayers, love one another, and tell the truth.
Amen. Till next time.
God
Peace.
bless.